Okay, hi to anyone who comes across this video. I'm just going to get straight into things. So this whole narrative that Blackpink are the most favoured group under YG is definitely not new. As a Blink that's been there from the beginning, this is something that has come up quite regularly in the 4 years that they've been a group. And to be honest, most of the time I'm able to just ignore it because I know that's not the case. But I think with everything that's happened for Blackpink this year, with them entering into their third promo period, this sort of narrative continues to sort of get stronger among YG fans or fans of YG groups, and it's just not sitting well with me. So like I said, I typically tend to ignore these things, but I came across something on Twitter that really bothered me, and it was a tweet from someone. It was basically an image. You had an adult holding a child, and then you had two children. They were in a swimming pool with an adult holding a child up in the air. They're sort of having fun in their own world, and then right next to them you had two children sort of barely above water, and basically sunken at the bottom you had a skeleton in a chair. And on this image they had added labels to it. So you had Blackpink as the child being carried by the adult, which had been labelled as YG. You had Winner and Treasure as the kids that were barely floating, and then right at the bottom you had iKON. This video is going to be really simple and to the point because there really isn't too much to go over. I would just love for YG stans and fans of YG groups to stop confusing the results that Blackpink get with YG offering or giving them effective promotion. Now, if that image had any other implication, i.e. in terms of who was actually out here promoting, even then it wouldn't make sense. But I would understand because Blackpink are out here doing extremely well, entering into territories YG hasn't entered into before. And as we all know, Treasure have just started, and two Winner members are obviously off during their mandatory military service. And then of course you have iKON, who aren't really doing much apparently. I don't know, I don't follow iKON like that, but apparently aren't doing too much right now. If those were the implications behind the image, I would understand, but it was very obvious looking through the comments, and by the way, there were like thousands of likes and retweets on this, that people really are under the impression that Blackpink get better promo than all the other groups under YG, which again is absolutely ridiculous. Now back to my point about effective promotion versus pulling out results. It has been this way from the very beginning, Blinks and Blackpink turning lemons into lemonade. Now I don't have a comprehensive answer as to why by some miracle Blackpink have endured the same amount of hiatuses, this ridiculously small discography, and losing numerous stands, and only continue to grow bigger and bigger in comparison to groups like Winner and iKON, whose fame or whose potential faltered as a result of YG's mismanagement. I don't have the answers as to why that was the case, but I would just like people to understand that Blackpink continuing to get bigger, continuing to gain more recognition and visibility has absolutely nothing to do with YG promoting them effectively, and everything to do with both Blinks and haters alike constantly swarming to anything Blackpink related. If you are to list the amount of variety shows Blackpink have been on, I know that list cannot be as large as the other groups under YG. If you are to list the amount of songs, the amount of songs is the most insane one. Blackpink are 4 years old and barely have a discography. And if you look at that in comparison to the other groups under YG, and I'm not even talking all the groups, I'm talking just Winner and iKON, two groups who debuted within a year or two of their debut, it's insane what the difference is. I actually remember during Square Up era, with doing so insanely well. I was on One Hallyu, which is a forum. I was in the Blackpink thread with a whole bunch of other Blinks, and we were losing our minds because this song was doing so insanely well, completely sustaining itself, and YG had yet to put them on a variety show. They had yet to do radio appearances. This song was doing so insanely well, and we were raging. The result or the scope of what could have done could have been even bigger, but he was not promoting them. So again, this whole idea of effective promotion, I'm not going to understand. And I do also want to point one thing out, because it seems these international collabs or these international gigs are also giving people the impression that they get the effective promotion. I would just like to point out, every time Blackpink has had a major international gig, it has always been revealed that the international gig came to them. For Coachella, it was said that someone, I don't know if it was the founder of Coachella or whatever, but they personally flew to Korea to invite Blackpink. When it came to their collabs, be it with Dua Lipa and Lady Gaga, those two approached Blackpink for a collab. I believe when it came to Selena Gomez, the Pinks approached her, or it just became a natural thing where they just decided to do a collab. But none of these collabs were as a result of YG moving in any way, shape or form, or even Universal, which, let's talk about Universal for a moment, because I don't think people seem to remember that after the insane era that Square Up was, that they not only then got signed, but YG then had them sign Icon and Winner as well. And this is no shade to them because they do their thing as well, they do well, but are people really going to pretend that that deal would have come about in any way, shape or form if it wasn't for Blackpink? Because all eyes were on them at that point. So again, this idea that Blackpink get more effective promotion than the rest is ridiculous. And I just want to mention one thing as well, and this is no shade towards Treasure because I love Treasure, but it's really weird to me that they had Treasure down as one of the kids that were barely surviving, because Treasure get really effective promotion in comparison to Blackpink. I mean, this was a running joke. No one had heard what Blackpink sounded like or had any sort of glimpse into who they were. They had such a mysterious image because their first variety show, it was during Square 2 era, which was in November, which was a good couple of months after they debuted. And for their debut promotions, all they did was go on Inkigayo once a week. We would literally hear nothing else from them for the rest of the week. Blackpink has never had effective enough promotion, in my opinion. The name Blackpink and Blinks have been what has sustained Blackpink up until this point. This is the only year where YG has actually been semi-decent, but even that, in comparison to other groups, you can't say is decent enough. For How You Like That promotions, all they did was go on Inkigayo and Music Core. For Ice Cream, they didn't do anything, and now we're seeing like little bits and pieces pop up. Going back to Treasure right now, it's been 6 weeks, almost 2 months since their debut, and especially with the First Step Chapter 2, they've been absolutely everywhere. They've been on these internet shows Blackpink have never seen the light of day with these kind of shows. And there are rumours now at the moment that they're going to go on Sketchbook, which all the other YG artists have been on, interestingly, except for Blackpink. So I'm not sure, again, where this idea that Blackpink are promoted better than all the other YG groups is coming from. And again, this is no shade to Treasure, but to try and make out that they're barely surviving or they're barely given anything compared to Blackpink is laughable, in my opinion. Like, that's an actual joke, to be honest. And I think, again, it's just a case of people confusing promotion with the result. Because Treasure digitally aren't doing that well, suddenly YG isn't giving them enough attention, or they're not being given effective enough promotion as Blackpink. Because Blackpink continue to do well despite the weird level of promotion they've received, that for whatever reason then becomes them having been promoted effectively. I just think that's ridiculous. And I also want to point out the hypocrisy, because when Blackpink were getting their one comeback a year, when they were getting that kind of promotion and Blinks were complaining, it was, well, your faves need to write their songs, my faves write their songs, that's why they get so many comebacks. And also there were a lot of people saying that one comeback a year was not a problem, that it was quote unquote quality over quantity, as the YG stans love to say. So now I'm a little confused as to why everyone's raging that the Icon has only had one comeback this year. Why is it okay when it's Blackpink but not okay when it's Icon? So yeah, overall this is just a video to say, YG stans and fans of YG groups, please stop confusing Blackpink pulling out insane results with YG actually promoting them like they give a damn, because it has never been the case until arguably you could say this year, and even in comparison to other groups in other companies, it's still pale. So they're all mismanaged, they're all a mess. It's just a case of certain people in the midst of that mismanagement somehow pulling out better results than others. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Bye.